stream is starting.
Oh my gosh. I'm very, very tired.
You need a weekend.
Dude, I need something. This trying to do like a business on the side thing.
Oh my
gosh. Wear me out. Very tired.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4.
Weekend.
Dude, I need something. This trying to do like a business on the side thing.
Oh my gosh.
Wear me out. Very tired.
Check 1, 2, 3, 4.
Weekend.
Okay, we're all there.
Dude, I need something.
That is definitely one of the downsides of being active, really in any weekend-centered community. Church is certainly a part of that. Is that you don't have a weekend,
right?
But I know people who do pickleball and any other weekend sort of thing, poker tournaments, whatever it is, just takes your weekend away, and so you work all week and then you work all weekend on something else.
Yeah, and for me it was bad because I had to I was on the back wall, so I have to get here super early for band practice that started an hour and a half late, and so that was fun.
God, if we started an hour and a half late, we wouldn't have practice.
Right. Well, yeah, once everybody there at 8, practice got started at about 9:30. So.
All right. The stream appears to be streaming. Jinda is with us. So really, that's all we were waiting for. I am just really disturbed that these 3 buttons are always going to be there. Yeah. Ironically, it's right in the center of all 3 of our microphones. That's funny how that works out. That's what happens when your mic covers most of your face. Our agenda says we sound good, so we appreciate the lie. It's always welcome. Please begin your local recordings at this time.
Click.
Hard drive shredding utility. Engaged.
So I have down in my music room, this is my podcast studio. I have a music room downstairs. The beauties of being a consumer-oriented American that has way more than I need. And I have down there a multi-track recording device that I purchased used on eBay 15-ish, 20-ish years ago. And it has a hard drive in it, one of the first hard drive non-destructive editing devices. No screen of any kind, just a little digital, light sort of display, and you do all the editing in the device, and then the export is hitting play on one thing and hitting record on something else. And it had a hard drive in it, and I remember exchanging the hard drive with a 2 gig hard drive because it was a significant upgrade from the 400 meg hard drive it had in it. And now we do shows that clock in at roughly 2 gigs. I don't know what made me think of that. Well, you said hard drive shredding, and I was just thinking, I still have this device. I still use it. I basically use it as a mixer when I'm downstairs practicing, so I can have the track in my ear and a microphone and all that. And it was the pinnacle of technology for its day with a 400 meg hard drive capable of storing like 30 minutes of multi-track recording. Anyway.
I got an HD24 ADAT sitting in my rack here. And it takes whopping 120 gigabyte hard drives. IDE
nice
hard drives.
Yeah.
Easy to get stock of that material. So
yeah, that's what I have. I've got an IDE in there. One of the big fat ones, 5 1/4 guys.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh.
And when it dies, I will chuck it in the trash. It's probably not even worth pulling the copper out of it. Anyway.
Are you kidding? You can get an IDE to SATA adapter. And like a 4 terabyte thing in there now.
Put an SSD in there. And that's funny.
What? That would be a great podcast idea. Just like over-engineer obsolete technology. What can I do to pump this up, kind of thing.
Oh, well, you should all these machines behind me, right? That little Mac SE30, it's got solid state storage in it, and that's from 1987, I think.
That LCD monitor there, that doesn't belong at all, though.
No, I know.
You're a poser. You're not a real restorer.
I've blown 2 of the original Commodore monitors, and they're so expensive.
Because they're basically big light bulbs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you need a power conditioner as well as a power supply.
I don't think it's just an age thing. I think the filaments are just burning out. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, they've got those paper capacitor things. They just, 20 years, that's the end of them.
So someday I just
need to get the soldering iron out.
There's going to be a market for restoring that vintage stuff. But when that happens, vintage will be a 32-inch plasma screen. That'll be vintage. And there'll be a market for that.
Yeah.
Dude, Ultra 4K. I haven't seen that since I was a kid.
All right.
My generation is dying off.
Let's get this done before my meds wear off. So I haven't taken anything.
That's a great show title.
All right. Let's see. Everything is good to go. I'm going to start this and say, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geek Rant, episode 353. Don't make me laugh. Recorded March 17th, 2019, and brought to you by Element OP Productions. ElementOP.com. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Drive Time Radio for Geeks. I'm your host, Mark, occasionally known as the Sultan of the Soapbox Cockerel. And joining me this week, as always, are your 2 stalwart co-hosts, Seth, the Gooey Kid Anderson, and Miles, the Oxygenaire Wakeham. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, Mark, and welcome to the Faithful Obiites. Catch us while you can.
Top of the morning, geeks.
Yes, it is St. Patrick's Day, the day we celebrate the bringing of Christendom to the Irish Isles by drinking green beer. Not really sure how those 2 things are related, but so be it.
It's all marketing and advertisement.
And leprechauns.
Yeah, something like that. Just to get this out there, because it will certainly manifest itself at some point in the show. You know what I didn't do? I didn't start any kind of timer on this, so who knows how long the show is going to be. So anyway, the title of the show, Don't Make Me Laugh. I really need this to be the most bland, boring show we've ever done, because laughing right now hurts a lot. Because I have broken, cracked, fractured, whatever word you want to use, a rib. And I don't know if any of you have ever had that experience, but if you have, you know that it's extremely painful doing even the most simple things like laughing at a joke. So guys, promise me you won't be funny for the next 50 or so minutes.
I get so few opportunities. If you leave an opening, I'll have to take it.
All right. Well, at least apologize afterwards. So the official story was that I was rescuing an infant from an oncoming train, and I sacrificed my body by throwing myself across the tracks to rescue the infant, whose mother had somehow left it on the train tracks. That's the official story. The real story is I tripped over a rocking chair because I'm old, fat, clumsy. So Wednesday, I took the day off. We had some friends in from Texas. They were visiting. Obviously, they didn't come to live with us. But anyway, I took the day off to hang out with them, but they wanted to go do family stuff for that morning. And my kids had half a day of school that morning. So I had my oldest daughter didn't have any classes that day, and I was home. So I thought, I'll take my daughter out for brunch. That'll be fun. Daddy-daughter time. One of her favorite places to go is the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store. Now, I don't know how things are in the north, but I know south of the Mason-Dixon line, you could travel from coast to coast eating only at Cracker Barrel's breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and there will be plenty of them to spare. So they're all over the place. There are like 3 just within like a 10-minute trip from where I live right now. And they're all exactly the same. including the long line of rocking chairs they all have out on the porch. So as we were leaving, having feasted on Cracker Barrel Old Country Store fare, I caught my toe on one of those rocking chairs and began to stumble. And as one does, I tried to get my feet out from under me. So I started running, trying to get my feet back under me, thus accelerating my demise. When finally I could take it no longer, I came crashing down, and one of the arms of one of the rocking chairs caught me right smack in the rib on the way down.
Oh.
I literally bounced off of the arm of this rocking chair and rolled across the concrete porch of the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store. But first, just to make things worse, before I actually hit the ground, I landed on my daughter, who was walking in front of me, because I wanted the prize of Father of the Year. So I brought her down with me, knocked the wind out of me. I'm laying on the ground going, ooh, ooh, you know, thinking, this is it. This is where I end. You know how that is when you get the wind knocked out of you, you don't think you're ever going to breathe again. And I'm laying there thinking, oh, I had a good run. It's been a good time. And this is where it ends for me, on the porch at the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store. There were several people around. Of course, you can't do something humiliating like that in private. It must, of course, be done in front of witnesses. So there were several people around, and they all asked the same question. Are you okay? Except for the one woman in the crowd. All the men said, are you okay? The one woman said, no, he's not okay. He's in pain. Look at him. So the wisdom from the one woman in the crowd. After roughly 45 minutes, I finally managed to catch my breath. I'm sure it was only a few seconds, but it felt like that. I'm sure I was going to die. I took one big breath, and then the manager came out. And, of course, I had to, give him my phone number and fill out an accident report and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, all right, it's fine. It just knocked the wind out of me. No big deal. I'm going on my way. The adrenaline's still coursing through my veins. Everything's fine. And then I step off the curb. And that jarring motion of my foot going down about 6 inches went, oh, no, this is not okay. There's a problem here. So I put my hand on my side. I moved a little bit, and I thought, I'm pretty sure I shouldn't feel movement under my hand when I do that. I don't think that's normal. So, yeah, there is a rib there, perhaps two, that were in one piece and now are in more than one piece. And please don't make me laugh.
Okay. This one's too lame to make you laugh, Mark. But so what you're saying is for that brief moment, you were a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll.
Oh. Now I'm in pain.
Yeah. Yeah, no fear of making that one making me laugh, Seth. So we're okay there.
Oh, okay. I think it's...
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Bad jokes are the only kind of jokes I have.
So I can attest that those rocking chairs are solid. If you ever had any doubt about how sturdy, how well built they are, yeah, those things are solid. Go ahead and purchase one. They're going to hold up to lots of abuse. Better than bones.
So you can't do anything other than just let it heal, right? I mean,
Right.
There's nothing you can do.
Right. And in fact, I did some Googling because that's what nerds do. And the prevailing wisdom these days is don't even wrap, because people tend to wrap themselves too tightly and constrict their breathing, which leads to pneumonia.
You're not talking Snoop Dogg here, are you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, the splinting of the chest using compression bandages. So I said, screw that, because it feels way better with something on it than not. So I'll risk the pneumonia. But, fortunately, I didn't have to do anything today, a few days later, like, for example, singing in 2 different services and playing a 15-pound bass guitar. Fortunately, yeah, actually, I did do both of those things today. So breathing was difficult, playing was difficult, and so if you hear me whine or wince or complain, just know that, yeah, that's why it hurts.
Let me know, Mark, if I can do some more really bad jokes to kind of take your mind off of it.
Just keep the comedy low. That quality of joke right there. As long as you can keep it at that level or below, will be good.
Well, you know me. I only get one a day. So
another thing I did that same afternoon because I had already spent roughly $73,000 on the tickets. I took my family to see Captain Marvel, which I see, Seth, you have also seen. So why don't you start with your spoiler-free review, and then I will chime in.
Okay, so Captain Marvel, there are a lot of things, individual things about this movie that are really good. Like, for example, if you remember the Tron that came out and they tried to de-age Jeff Bridges and it just looked creepy.
Jeff Bridges, yes.
Yeah, that's right. Did I say the right one?
Jeff Bridgettle. That's my phrase for what they turned him into.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but anyway, so they de-aged Nick Fury and Agent Coulson, and it looked really good. I mean, it was like very good. So there's a lot of effects there, but I gotta say, I was kind of let down by the movie. I think this would have been a good phase 1 film, but Marvel was at a much higher standard before this, and it was just too Captain Marvel Ex Machina for me to really enjoy it. So
yeah. So first, regarding the de-aging of Samuel L. Jackson, flawless on the face, and that's not a word I use ever. Flawless. I was looking for errors. I was looking for that uncanny valley, and I couldn't find it. It was just perfect digital de-aging. The only place where it wasn't believable was when because they had him do the act, him do the stuff, and then they changed his face. Anything that required physicality, he moved like a 60-plus-year-old man, right? So when he's running down the hallway, he runs like an old guy, and you can tell all the younger people are having to slow down so that they don't outrun him. And when but that's unavoidable, short of using a fully digital actor. But the face, the eyes, everything was just perfect on a big screen. Maybe on a small screen, it will look a little weird, but I was blown away by that. And Coulson as well. They de-aged him. And yeah, it looked a little weirder, but maybe that's just because that I don't know what he looked like as well when he was younger. But anyway, I just thought that was really good. As far as the movie goes, it was fine. It was fine. You know what fine means for me. It's not bad. It's not good. A movie, fine is a movie worth seeing. I've seen it once. I'll probably see it a couple of more times throughout, the rest of my lifetime. It was fine. It was a fine movie. There was one moment in there, and I won't spoil it, but I'll just say that Fury starts the film with 2 eyes and ends the film with 1 eye. And it's kind of funny because, it's like in Hot Tub Time Machine, another terrible movie. There's a character who loses an arm, and they suck you in several times, and you're like, oh, that's how he... No, that's not how he loses. Oh, that's how he loses. So they're teasing you all throughout the movie, and that was good. There were several moments there where you think, oh, that's how he loses the eye. But when they actually get to the way that he loses his eye, I actually lost most of my respect for the movie at that moment. It took it from being a good movie to an okay movie. I'm not exaggerating. That moment was so cheesy and disappointing that it kind of ruined the whole movie for me.
Yeah, I don't give this film a high as great as you do. So for me, it wasn't as good. I mean, it closed some kind of little, not really plot holes in the Marvel universe, but it opened up several more. Yeah. And it was just, there was like it went from kind of a good movie into just an overpowered hero. And they destroyed Ronan, one of the better villains, he was a villain in the first Guardians movie, and they just made him seem like a whiny little girl in this film. And so I don't know what happened. Maybe there'll be a Ronin movie and it will explain how he went from a whiny little girl into the bad mamma jamma Roman and the accuser that he was in the Guardians film, but he wasn't that way in this movie. So
comic book names are always a little too on the nose.
Right.
And Ronin means rogue soldier, rogue warrior. That's what that word means. Right. So this was a time before he went rogue. So maybe that could be explained. But it was 6.5 out of 10. It not terrible, not bad, not great. Worth seeing. I don't remember anything that you have to see in IMAX, or I avoid 3D like the plague. But yeah, visually, all the effects were pretty subtle. And actually, that's what I like about effects. I like effects that you go, oh, was that a digital effect? I'm not really sure. So there weren't any big, giant robots fighting giant lizard moments. It was, anyway, enough about that. It was a decent movie. I don't regret having seen it, but I can't really recommend it either.
Okay, I can say the same thing.
Yeah. And so, Miles, we have been getting emails. I've been forwarding to you recommendations about your new phone, but it doesn't matter anymore because you've made your choice.
Yeah, I broke down. I don't know what I did. I got to the point where I was just so sick and tired of my current phone, and I'm traveling soon. So it was like, do it now or do it later and not have a decent camera. So, yeah, I did it. I broke down. I got the Galaxy S10, just the middle one of the series. But I did learn a lot about who not to trust in the phone carrier business.
All of them?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's just the typical scam that it always has been. In this case, Verizon is playing their normal scammy card. Like they come up with these options like, we'll sell you the phone and we'll give you a $200 trade-in for your current phone, which was twice what I could get if I sold it on eBay. So I thought, yeah, okay, I'll check that out. And of course, then you read the fine print, and they want to give you that money over a 2-year period, which happens to correspond with a contract term, or it's like another way of just trying to keep you as a customer. So I just don't do well with those sort of scammy tricks. So anyway, then I got on the phone and I called up the Verizon. I said to the lady, look, I'm traveling overseas in 90 days. I need this thing unlocked. And she goes, well, yeah, we unlocked them after 60 days. I'm like, well, I'm buying the phone. Why don't you just give it to me unlocked? It's like, I'm buying it. I'm not signing up for a finance program or leasing it from you. I'm buying it. No, if you buy it from the carrier, you got to wait 60 days before they unlock it. Unlocking it's a big thing for me because, I'm going to swap the SIM to another country's SIM when I travel. So anyway, that's problem number one. Anyway, after all of this, I found out I could buy the same phone on Amazon direct from Samsung that was compatible with my carrier, and it would just work. So that's what I did, and took advantage of gift cards and got 5,000 frequent flyer points in the process. So yeah, that's how it is. So everybody, look, I thank you for everybody who recommended different options, because we got quite a few of them. But I didn't take any of your advice, and I'm probably going to regret it. So, I don't know. What do you do?
So you paid what, $1,200 or so for it?
$8.99 plus tax.
All right, that's less than I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that is the appropriate price for the phone, but I will say that the $200 to $300 phones that we're getting are really underpriced. We're not really paying for what they're worth. So I think the sweet spot is probably somewhere around the $500 to $700 range. Carriers do a lot of subsidizing. I've bought my last couple of phones from Oppo, the OnePlus. And it's a Korean company, and I'm getting the phone less expensive because the people making the phone, the manufacturers, the actual humans, are being underpaid and probably poorly treated. So there's a price to be paid all the way around. So I think if we actually paid fair wages and fair prices for components, $1,000 for a smartphone is probably about an appropriate price. It's just not something that we, first worlders are actually willing to shell out for.
Yeah, but here's the weird thing, right? 8 gigabytes of RAM, that's what you get in a laptop. And it's got, I don't know what the processor equivalent is, so I can't really compare on that. It's got 128 gigs of storage. So that's like a small SSD. It's got a good quality screen. It's got basically the same spec that most touchscreen laptops have. So $899, yeah, I guess that's probably market price.
Yeah.
Do you need to carry a laptop around to answer your phone and text message? No. I mean, but it's the camera and it's all the other stuff. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess I got a very small laptop.
Yeah, when people ask me about laptops or computers, I always say, go to your local Best Buy or wherever you like to buy stuff and just pick the pretty one, because everything there is more than you need. And we're kind of at that point of phones now, too. Everything there is more than you need. So pick the one you like.
Yeah.
Seth, you're still rocking your first generation Moto Razr, aren't you?
No, the Razr broke in half, and I had to upgrade to this LG thing. I got 8 gigs of internal storage, baby. So take
Not
that.
Not RAM, that's storage.
Storage. Yeah, it has 1 gig of RAM. And, and I mean, hey, I only have to reboot it sometimes a couple of times a day. So I figure I got another 6 months to a year. I can get into 2020 with it.
Speaking of things that have been around for a while, Mozilla has officially launched the service that's been around for a year and a half, and that is their file sending service. So, I mean, I've heard of a soft launch, but like 17 months seems a little excessive.
Well, yeah, it was, they had it, and that was kind of like it was there, but it was sort of like a beta and an unreleased thing. But yeah, so they're rolling it out now. So hopefully it will be good. And, and is this something that, is this a meh thing that, I have Dropbox or I can use Google Drive or whatever? Or is this the thing we didn't know we need because it's just one file and, I don't want to have to go and make a special folder and share it out to whatever. I can just use this service and send you the password and you can get it and then it's gone. So, 2.5 gigs or, or do we even share data anymore? Do you need 2.5 gigs to send somebody a YouTube link?
I would say that it is not as prominent a need as it used to be. But there are still times that I need to send files to somebody. But most everybody already has a Dropbox or a Google Drive or something. So I think while it's not necessarily not a need, it's everybody who needs to do it already can do it, I would say.
Yeah, the difference is, like I say, this is it's a lot easier. And if I want to share a Dropbox file with you, well, I've got to go in and put it in a public folder. Or
no, that hasn't been true for like a year.
So,
you right click on it and you say generate a link.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, shows you how often I use it. So,
do you trust Mozilla?
As much as I trust anybody, I wouldn't send anything that I cared about through any of these services. Right, I would encrypt a zip file and then send the password to that zip file through a different method. I don't trust any of these services for something that I actually care about.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just another one of these services. I'm way too tinfoil hat to use any of them. I'll use Mega. That's about it, and that's rarely. For the most part, we installed a Nextcloud server in one of our data centers, and it's been great. I love it, and I know where it is, and I can put my hands on it, and I know where my data is. But most people, maybe if you've got a spare computer around, some disk drives lying around that you want to put something like this in your home, you can. But I guess most people don't want to go to the trouble.
Yeah, I mean the nerds like me who need to do this on a regular basis have FTP stores or SCP servers, and I just post things on my own server and send somebody a link to it. This is for the everyday, and to Seth's point, the everyday user doesn't care.
Who knows? Like I say, this might be the thing we never knew we needed. So,
or everyone gets pwned on it.
Yeah, that's true as well. Both equally valid options.
But something we're all sure we don't need is Shockwave. I didn't even know that was still around, but apparently it's not going to be for long.
Yeah, so Adobe will officially like pull the download link April 9th, 2019. So then it will only exist on third-party sites, such as 99, FileHippo, and download.com.
So it's fine
and
for a long
2Cal
time.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sure it'll still be there, but they're going to officially stop supporting something that the internet stopped using last decade. So, Shockwave, man, I remember when it was a cool thing to have. And every time you got a computer, you had to go get Adobe Reader, and you had to go get Flash Player before Adobe bought it. And you had to go get Macromedia Shockwave Player, really for your web browser to work. And now, man, you don't need any of those things.
Yeah, it was the predecessor. Sorry to interrupt you. To Flash, and Flash sort of eclipsed it in the long run. But it was the first widely used, not the first in existence, but the first widely used in-browser virtual machine. And yeah, like to your point, Seth, you couldn't function without Shockwave for a while there on the web.
Definitely. So, yeah, man, look at progress. Kids today, they'll never know.
It really is true that the browser is the new OS. And we just assume these things happen now. We just assume you can have fully functional applications, enterprise-grade software in your browser. But that wasn't all, kids, that wasn't always the case.
I still am. I mean, I make a living with, web applications and hosting and stuff like that. So you would normally think I'd be like on board with, everything should be on the web. I'm not sure about that. I mean, people have to remember the internet's just a network, in the same way that you used to connect computers together to share files off a file server. It's no different. Or a couple of computers can connect together to play video games. A network just connects things. The browser's just a obfuscation sitting on top of that. So, if people want to use it as a platform for writing stuff, fine. But, oh my gosh, if you've ever written software using a modern IDE, like a development environment, versus using all the cryptic tools that you have to do for web development, trust me, you'd prefer the IDE any day. And I certainly would. But, hey, no one wants software that you actually have to, run setup.
Right. Remember when you used to get physical copies of, let's go way back, floppy disks, insert disc 1 of 3, and then it became CDs, and still today it's pretty predominantly, that's not the right word, it's still pretty common to download things, but often those downloads are disguised as running a web app, like TurboTax or H&R Block. That's timely this time of year. People are doing their taxes, or a WebEx meeting or whatever. You're actually downloading software, but the experience doesn't make it seem like that. You click the go button and then it says, would you like to run this? But really, you're downloading a package. So it's smoke and mirrors making it think that you're not. But I think, Miles, to your point, in 10 years, that will be extremely rare. Only enterprises will install software. Everything else will just run on somebody else's machine.
Well, the software industry wants it to be this way because it stops piracy. I mean, right. The whole driver behind the web is not convenience, people. It's not using the computer anywhere, anytime. It's got nothing to do with that. It's because the software industry got sick and tired of you stealing all their stuff. So they want to have it on their servers and they want to own it. And that's what the web's about. The web isn't there for our convenience. It's for their money.
Miles, are you saying that software companies would lie to me?
They've never lied. They've just creatively told the certain concepts of the facts. It's not a lie.
No, and a 44-page, end user licensing agreement.
Yeah.
Can you trust these people? Sure.
Yeah. The biggest lie in the world is I have read and agreed to the license agreement. That's the biggest lie anybody's ever told. My daughter's taking a class right now in high school of marketing, and so her eyes are being awakened to marketing techniques, and it's been interesting because it's one of the things that I enjoy paying attention to and have for a while. Just the creative truth telling and the cultivating the delightfully vague, right? I don't really know what you're saying, but I like what you're saying, and that's marketing. And so it's been interesting. We've had some great discussions about little things like colors in an ad, product placement of not just having somebody use your thing, but where it exists in the ad. Marketing is a science. It is a social, psychological science, a social science. And the one thing you can't do, Seth, is lie. But you can walk right up to the line of lying.
Yeah, like I remember Mark Zuckerberg was, one of his things when he was interviewing in front of the House for something. If Facebook's just going to get back to people being able to connect with people, oh, that sounds so great. But what that means is businesses who want to use Facebook are now going to have to pay lots of money for tools they used to get for free. So, that's what he said. He said, this is just going to be about people connecting with people. And so we're going to basically make the businesses have to pay a lot more in order to do stuff. And so I hate marketing. I hate advertising. I can't remember his name, the counseling psychology guy who started or who revolutionized the ad industry. Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame.
But the one thing we know about advertising is that it works. It absolutely works.
Yep.
And it is frustrating when something that is pure and noble in its intent gets twisted to become, a tool of, whatever. And this next story that we're going to talk about is exactly an example of that. In Massachusetts, a law is being passed that specifically bans one store from doing one thing. Now, that's not what the law says. If you read the wording, that's not what it says. But the effect is, Amazon, you can't have your cashless stores in Massachusetts. A, I don't know why this would be a law. And B, I think it's ridiculous when legislation is used as a pinpoint hammer like that.
Well, yeah. And so Philadelphia has just banned cashless stores joining the M-state. I never can say that word. They've had that ban since 1978. So it doesn't ban cashless stores. It bans cashless only stores. So you can do cashless just as long as you have an option for cash. And, and I understand the reason why Amazon does what they do. It's to streamline. No, it's because if you don't think about the price, statistically and psychologically, it has been proven time and time again that you spend more money.
Way more.
If they can put a layer between you and the cash. That's why, when you go into arcades, machines don't take quarters anymore. They take tokens, or you buy a card that is good for so long. And, $10 for 30 minutes of entertainment. No, but a $10 card for David. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll do that. And so, I see the point because it's sort of, the convenience factor is nice, but the giving up and giving away your privacy isn't nice. And, and yes, so now they have to have more people for checkout, which is more cost. And so the unions love it because that way more people have a job. The consumers hate it because the stores end up costing more money because they're not going to take less profit. So I understand the thing. And here's the deal. Amazon could make it a Prime only store. And then because warehouse clubs, things where you buy membership to, they're exempt from this. So if Amazon had a Prime only store, then they could be cashless. But if it's kind of just open to the public, it has to have the ability to accept cash. And, my money says on it that this tender is legal for all debts, public and private. So
yeah, so it is true in the U.S. that if you refuse legal tender, you can't like to pay a debt. If Seth, you owe me money and you wave a George Washington in my face and I refuse it, that is tantamount to nullifying the debt. I must accept legal tender or nullify the debt, but that doesn't mean that we can't agree that it will be paid in a different way. So that's the way they're going with this. Is if you don't use cash, you can't have a store in Philadelphia. And right now there's only one company who has cashless stores, and that's Amazon, and they're only testing it in a few places. And I think this is this is the future. We all recognize that cashless is the future. I don't know why Philadelphia wants to live in the past. I don't get it.
Go ahead, Miles.
There's maybe part of it is kind of a biblical thing. There's a lot of people out there who are concerned about the lack of cash because of, prophecies and so on. That might be a part of it. I mean, we're supposed to have separation, church and state, but really, do we?
Well, I mean, people have been saying that the barcode is the number of the beast for years. Everything is the number of the beast. But I don't know. It's just weird. Philadelphia is going to overturn this in less than 15 years. They will. I mark my words. I will be around in 15 years. I'm going to die from falling on a rocking chair and puncturing a lung. But this is wrongheaded, and they will be shown to be on the wrong side of history in a very short time.
I guess the thing that's concerning to me is this kind of unbridled need for consumption that seems to be a business model Amazon is taking to such a level at the expense of everybody who is a customer and everybody who is a staff member. We don't need as much stuff in our lives. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. And these companies are just being forced to amp it up at every possible, capability, whether it be increasing income or decreasing expense to try to make better and better returns for the shareholders. And yeah, the shareholders doing really, really well. And meanwhile, our places are full of junk that we probably don't need because we all got suckered into some marketing campaign, or we all decided to turn our phones on and walk through the cashless register at Amazon because it's so convenient, not thinking about whether or not we really needed to buy that pair of socks. I don't know.
Well, I mean, the American way is buying things you don't need with money you don't have to impress people you don't like.
Right. There you go. That's exactly it.
And
You see, the thing is, though, if we accept that, then we can't change it. Like we have to make a conscious effort to not accept that and to be a contrarian. But there's very few people who are strong enough to be able to resist.
But see, I want cashless payments. I get excited when I go up to a gas station and I can pay with my phone because I don't want a human. Whenever possible, I don't want to human. If I can go to Home Depot and go to the checkout stand, if I have to stand in line to self-checkout versus go straight to the person where I have to human and interact with somebody, I will choose to stand in line and self-checkout because the world is full of morons, and the fewer interactions I can have with morons, the better.
And every day we are burning far more capital of stored social interactions and stored norms than we replace, because now I don't have to talk to anybody. I don't have to go to the grocery store. I can Amazon Prime it. I can work from home. I can order from Grubhub or, Uber Eats or delivery or whatever, or drone service. And so I don't have to talk to people. So the few times I do interact, no one has ever taught me, rub the rough edges off of me when I was young. And so now I wanted to turn left, but someone was standing there. So now I'm cussing them out because don't they know how important I think I am?
So you're telling me that self-checkout stands are the end of civilized society as we know it?
No, I'm saying
that's
it's
exactly
one
what you
more
just
step.
said.
No, I said it's a step in that direction. It will get that way.
Yeah, it could be onto something there because, I mean, think about we're not developing social skills like we used to. We're all sitting behind a phone or behind a computer or behind, a cashless POS system or whatever. We're not talking to people. So we don't develop the skills to make, small talk and open up conversations and start to connect. And what ends up happening is we all go to our little corners and everything becomes tribal. And no one trusts each other because they don't understand each other because they never learned to communicate to understand each other. And then, well, you know where this is going.
Miles, are we friends?
Of course.
I'm your friend.
Yeah.
And you're my friend.
Sure.
I agree with that. Have we ever met?
No, but I can see you right there.
Right.
I mean, it's as if you were in the same room.
Right. So you just invalidated your own argument, right? So we have developed a friendship over the years, never having met, because the technology brings people closer together. If you choose to use the technology to be separate from other people, then that's how the technology will be used. If you choose to use the technology to draw people together, that's how it will be used. I've heard that old saw many times. In fact, I have said that very thing, but I just don't think it's true. I think that it's a symptom of the disease, not the cause of the disease. The problem is that for whatever reason we don't value humanity anymore. And I was making a joke saying I don't want a human whenever possible, but the part of the problem is that I'm finding the quality of the humans I interact with are gradually lower and lower. But I think that to blame the technology and to blame the self-checkout stand and to blame Amazon Prime for the lack of social skills is putting the cart before the horse. I think the problem is that the lack of social skills has made us prefer to not interact with people whenever possible.
But see, you're talking to people who grew up without the medium of this piece of silicon 6 inches away from them and using that to interact in the world. We grew up in a society that was bound by personal face-to-face interactions. So that spills over into all of forms of our communication versus the people who are coming of age now. More and more of them are coming of age without the same level of socialization because there's this medium where they aren't reacting to people and learn, you don't cuss somebody out because they were standing in your way. You just say thank you. And so
that wasn't courtesy as much it was the ability of somebody to punch you in the nose. So if you remove the ability for somebody to punch you in the nose, then people get ruder. I think my point, and I'm making it inarticulately, and I apologize for that, is that we are the old guard complaining that the world today isn't the world we grew up in. Every old guard has always complained that the world today isn't the world we grew up in. It's a sign of us being old guys and not a sign of society being, going to hell in a handbasket. I see my young children having deep personal interactions with people via technology on a regular basis. My daughters, and girls tend to be more verbal than boys. My daughters have more conversations with their friends because of technology, not less. And they have more intimate relationships, and I don't mean intimate in the sexual term, but intimate in the fact that you know each other intimately, you know each other well. That technology has improved that ability, not lessened it. Now, if my daughters were asshats, that wouldn't be the technology causing that. That would be bad parenting causing that, or maybe bad genetics. But it wouldn't be the technology. And so I think we just need to make sure that we're putting the blame in the right place. We do have a generation of people who don't know how to parent. Technology doesn't have anything to do with that. And the children of the generation that don't know how to parent are asshats. and that has nothing to do with the technology.
I'll go 50% with you on the fact that I think the technology has expanded communications. Certain technology, like what we're using right now, Skype and podcasting and all that sort of thing, people get a window to who we are because they can listen to us on a podcast. And I listen to podcasts all the time, and I feel like I know the person I'm listening to. After a while, you develop a repertoire, you develop a association with the person who you've never met, you probably never will meet, but you understand them a little bit better. And that helps. At the same time, though, with technology, there's just as much of an opportunity for somebody who may not have social skills to go into the corner and not ever come out. And it's not, human beings, we're social animals. It's normal for us to be social and to communicate. And we need to exercise that skill. It's in our DNA. It's what makes us human. And if we don't do that, my concern is that we're supporting, we're even celebrating a dysfunction of not being our species. And that's kind of I think it's better for somebody who might have difficult social skills to recognize that and learn to embrace and learn to master and develop those skills and get past it than it is for them to have an opportunity to never leave the house, to never go out, to never go into public, and when they do, to never actually integrate with people because either they fear people or they don't work well or they hate people or whatever. I think we should have a world which encourages people to come out and to develop those skills.
I don't know. When you put it like that, maybe I am in favor of technology.
So to answer a question in the chat room, Asat that's just the southern pronunciation of the Sanskrit word ashat, which means a terrible person. I totally made that up, but sounds believable. So speaking of terrible people, how about people who could hack into your computer because you're using a wireless keyboard and mouse? So there's terrible people on both ends, the people who would do it and the people who make the technology so insecure that you could do it.
Yeah, so Fujitsu has this wireless mouse keyboard combo that is apparently susceptible to attacks because they use encryption between the dongle and the wire and the actual keyboard and mouse. It's actually pretty good encryption. However, they didn't think to secure the dongle against unencrypted traffic because they're thinking, well, who else would do it besides the keyboard? And so basically you could set up, regular equipment can do like 30 feet, and specialized equipment, you could be in a building next door to launch an attack, proof of concept. And again, the sky's not falling. This is just a sign of things to come. As more and more IoT stuff hits the market where people don't even know the right way to spell security, much less how to implement it correctly, where it's possible to set something up to where you can steal the credentials. Like you could send a keyboard lock combination and lock the machine, and they go, I don't remember doing that. And so they did send a keyboard combination and then send their password. And of course, every office you're in complains if they have to type their username and their password because they can't remember two things. So Windows defaults to the last user, and so poof, you've got their credentials now, and you can access there. And then you can generate a thing to attack, to visit a malicious website, man-in-the-middle attacks, ransomware, cryptoware, all the other kind of stuff. And again, that kind of stuff can happen. I'm not saying it has, but this is one flaw that has been known about for a while. And Fujitsu's recommended fix is 1, don't use this, or 2, use it in a basement where nobody else can be within radio range.
Yeah, so and the radio range on that Bluetooth thing is pretty narrow. Somebody's going to have to be 20 feet away.
Right. Unless you have a specialized antenna, then you could be in an office across the hall or possibly even a building. And if you're not, if you're kind of spearfishing or whaling, then you're going to invest in that kind of equipment. So again, not that it's not the sky is falling doom and gloom, but this is just, somebody developed this wireless thing, 1, to get you to spend more money on batteries, and 2, has a convenience because this way you can get your wireless thing more than 5 feet away from the thing. So, good concept. Somebody thought, oh, well, look, we're only going to, the keyboard's only going to be able to communicate encrypted. Well, let's block the default, unencrypted communication. Who would do that? The keyboard's already encrypted. So you just left yourself open, and I don't know if there's a firmware update or you just throw this away and buy a new model. So I guess from a marketing standpoint, a sales standpoint, this is good because now you've got to ditch this Fujitsu and buy a new Fujitsu keyboard.
Yeah, it's a win. It's a win. Fujitsu actually did this on purpose so they could double the amount of sales, because the punishment for being untrustworthy in a modern society is that you get more sales.
Right.
Like, for example, if you're, say, Experian, and you let every one of your passwords for 300 million people go, the punishment for that is launching a paid service where they scan the dark web and see if your password is there. You know how they scan the dark web? They check the database and say, is that one we let go? Yep. That'll be $25.
Yeah, no, Yahoo had a thing about oh, you need to update your phone number for more security. And there was a little feedback option. And I said, I'm not the one who leaked my password. That was y'all. So, and of course I know nobody reads that, but it sure did feel fun to me. So.
And so there's probably an option for this. Who knows if the chip in there is even updatable? If I were manufacturing it, I wouldn't put an updatable EEPROM in there. There's no reason to. It's a set it and forget it thing. But even if it is, and even if there's a methodology, who's going to do it? You're going to have to know that it's a problem. You're going to have to go to the Fujitsu website. You're going to have to download the thing. You're going to have to run the utility, and you're going to have to do all this, like with a wired keyboard, because the moment you start updating it, you're going to lose keyboard and mouse control. This is a thing that will never happen. So every one of these units is vulnerable and will be vulnerable for the entire lifetime of those devices.
Yep. And, and what happened was somebody said, hey, let's get this to market. Are there any reasons why we shouldn't? And this one guy said, actually, there's a security vulnerability. You're fired.
Yeah, well.
I mean,
I doubt anybody said that. Does it work? Yep, good. Ship it.
But wait, what? No. So, yeah. Fun times.
I'm not a product developer. I never have been, but I can put myself pretty easily in the minds of these people. They're selling disposable tech, and they know it.
Right.
The lifespan of this thing is a couple of years at best. And so they're all about the next thing you're going to buy. They don't care about this thing, and they're not interested in making it secure, and there's no real reason for them to. There's going to be no backlash for this. There's going to be no price to pay for this at all. There will be no lesson learned from this, not from consumers, not from manufacturers. It's just a story that we talk about that will make no dent in the world at all.
Yeah. But I mean, I remember covering stories where it came out that people did voice objections and they were let go. And again, I'm sure not every company is that way, but that's the pressure. Oh, you complained, and because of you, this product was late going out the door. Guess who doesn't get their, yearly raise, or only gets half of their yearly raise? Not the person who saved the flaw. It's the person who gummed up the works. So, I mean, that exists. And again, not all companies are like that, but, it's kind of hard to tell these days.
Miles, any thoughts?
I like a nice clicky keyboard, and I can't get them wireless, so I'd never fall prey to this because I don't like those keyboards. But that's me.
I think my company went to Dell, who's the manufacturer of all the computers there, and said, "Can you sell us the loudest keyboards you make? In fact, if you could manufacture louder keyboards for us, that would be awesome." Because I swear you could hear somebody typing 300 feet away in my office, and when there's 100 people type, it sounds like a cocktail party. it's crazy, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. that's pretty close.
Yeah, that's how it sounds.
But they do feel good, and like to your point, Miles, there's just something tactily satisfying about a good clunk when you hit a key.
Yeah,
because you can't really slam stuff anymore. So when you get to hit that key just a little bit harder,
right? It is so much harder to rage hang up on somebody with a smartphone. Oh yeah, yep. Beep. It's not satisfying at all. All right, well, the only thing I have left to say is, Seth, what happened this week in history?
All right, Mark. Well, I wanted to let you and all of the fine opioids know that on March the 18th, 1974, Atari released the first modern racing game. So Atari introduced Grand Track 10. It's the first arcade game that used solid-state read-only memory, woohoo, to store data for each car, the game timer, the racetrack, and the score, and has such as the first game to have defined characters rather than mathematically manipulated dots. The game controls, which included a 4-position gear shift, a steering wheel, and 2 foot pedals, are also all first for arcade games. Back in 1974, Mark, that happened, and now back to you.
That's old. 74.
Yep.
Nobody thinks of video games before like 79 or 80.
This is a stand-up arcade machine, right? It's not home or anything. Okay, yeah.
I hope it's sit down if you have to manipulate 2 pedals, but maybe not.
No, it was stand up.
Yeah.
So one of them was like, brake, and the other one was like gas, I'm sure.
Right.
So I doubt you could do them both at the same time, but who knows? Maybe you could.
I guess the sit-down games, they didn't really come out till much longer after that, now that I think about it. Next week, you're going to pull something out that shows me that the first sit-down video arcade game was in 1935, because I'm always amazed at how early things are. I think that basically the world began when I became aware of the world, which is, 81, 82. So that's when everything began. So I'm always surprised when then something happened actually before that.
Right.
That's a thing we all humans do. And now, Seth, what do you have to close the show out in style for us?
Okay, well, I came up with something this week. So this is a languageguesser.com. And so if you go there, you choose whether, you just pick you want to do a classic thing or you want to do an infinite thing. So you click on one of the options and then it plays you a YouTube, and you have 4 choices to guess the language of the song, the lyrics. And if you do it on the first guess, you get 3 points. Second guess, you get 2. Third guess, you get 1. Of course, the fourth, you get 0 because that was the last option. And you just try to see how many points you get. And so something kind of fun. And, this would be a cool thing, I think, to do in groups. Maybe, everybody take it and then, hey, who scored the most points or whatever. Anyway, languageguesser.com for all of your, sounds like Greek to me. If you pick Greek every time, who knows? You might get it right once or twice.
Dude, SBR has gotten it right 1,017 times. Wow. Well, a score of that. So you got 4 points, but still, wow. That dude's good at languages.
Yeah.
So Afrikaans, Albanian, Arabic, Armenian, Azerbaijani, Bengali, Bosnian. I'm definitely going to check this out after we're done with the show, because that sounds like a fun thing because I'm a language nerd. Sounds fun to me.
Yeah, well, I can't always, I don't know, there's less and less websites. Now everybody is more, take this stupid Facebook quiz, or, post something on Facebook or post a video on YouTube. There's less and less just cool websites out there. People abandon the rural communities of the web to congregate in these massive overpopulated stink holes that are the Facebooks and YouTubes of the world.
Wow, that was a long stretch for an analogy there. It really was. So
will
there be urban flight in a few years where everybody will be moving back to the suburbs?
I hope so. One can always dream.
I do lament the consolidation of data into a few houses. It's Amazon's S3, Google, Facebook. That is a thing. WordPress. There's a handful of places where all the world lives right now, and yeah, I share your disdain for that. Own your stuff, people. Says the guy who buys hosting on a megalith server and puts all his stuff there.
Yeah.
All right, this is the part of the show where I tell you how you can feedback to us. Go to elementop.com, click the Contact Us button at the top of the page, answer the world's hardest CAPTCHA, then fill out the form there that gets sends an email that gets priority in my inbox. I will read your stuff before I will read things from the Nigerian prince who wants to give me money. So let us know what you think. We had a lot of heady discussions about the fact that people don't know how to parent and how technology is ruining the world. Let us know what you think about any or all of those sort of things. If you have phone suggestions for Miles, there's no point. He's not going to listen anyway. You gave him lots of good advice that he ignored, and he bought the shiny pretty one.
Sorry.
Yeah. Also, you can join us live as Jinda did and comment in the chat room every Sunday night, except next Sunday, by the way. We won't be doing a show next Sunday because Miles and I both have previous commitments. But the week after that, you can go to elementopie.com/live on Sunday night, somewhere around 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be there and we'll be putting on a show, I think, as best I can tell the future. So thanks for being with us. Thank you, audience, for listening. I say all the time, you're the reason we do this, because otherwise we'd be a little crazy to set up all this stuff and go through all this effort and make recordings and stuff, just to have a conversation. So I'm glad you listen, because otherwise we would be even more crazy than we are. So thanks for hanging out with us. If you like the show, tell others about it. If you really like the show, give us some money over at patreon.com/elementop. And we'll see you in a couple of weeks. That's it for this episode of the GeekRant. And remember, pay for what you like.
Toodaloo.
All right. And I'm going to stop the YouTube video now because, frankly, there's nothing more to see here. Bye, everybody.